We are back, ladies and gentlemen! The No Name Cinema Society. I'm so loud, but I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, how you doing? Oh, my name is Jonathan Betzler. I am one of your hosts for this evening. I got a little Indiana Jones behind me. We got a classic coming later on tonight. You can see the beard is in full formation now. It's been about 20 days since you last saw me, and we got a full growth here, and let me know as fans how you guys are feeling about it. Which means, you know, got a team still going in the hockey round. You'll turn it. Our next show is going to be on June 6th, so we'll find out then if I'm clean shaven or if the beard grows further. I know you guys are hashtag JB Beard are very excited about that. Last time on the show. 20 days ago, we talked about Keanu, another movie, a movie that featured the comedy team Key and Peele. Could this movie, The Nice Guys, be a future comedy team? So it's similar in that way, and to discuss this movie with me is our own Nice Guys. And if I cast my cohorts in this movie, Holland March would be played by Dave Joseph. How you doing there, Davey?
I'm doing well.
And that's all he ever says, so that's the best you're going to get from him. Jackson Healy is going to be played by Jay Money. How you doing, Jackson?
I'm
Jay?
I'm good. I grew my beard out in support of your beard. This just happened for me, I think, in the last couple of days, just because I wanted to show a little solidarity with you and your hockey beard. I don't actually understand your hockey beard. I don't really understand the dynamic of it, but it seems impressive one way or the other.
Well, thank you very much. And tonight's episode, by the way, is sponsored indirectly by the Google Cultural Institute. I just did a job with them last week. I think we should be sponsored full time by the Google Cultural Institute. I think we're cultural in our own special kind of way.
Could you ask them why our broadcast graphics aren't working?
Oh yeah, these guys, by the way, don't have names. Their name tags aren't working on their lower thirds. So I'm just gonna have to keep reminding you who they are all night. Because but even I forget sometimes. So
yeah, you don't even know our names. Fine.
What's that?
You don't even know our names. That's okay.
Yeah, I know your fake names. Anyway, this is our evening schedule for the night. So we're starting right now. We're going to talk about The Nice Guys, coming in about I'd say about hopefully 28 minutes. We're going to talk about My Week with Marilyn, our indie from 2011. Then 9 p.m. We got Raiders of the Lost Ark celebrating its 35th anniversary, which is kind of exciting, and that's our classic for the evening. And our sound off is coming up at 10 o'clock, 7 o'clock Eastern. Davey's got a diatribe. I got some special stuff, and my top 5 is going to be the top 5 Harrison Ford movies. That's what these guys requested I do the top 5 on. So I actually saw, I hinted this at the last episode, you guys may remember, I actually saw The Nice Guys the day after our last episode. I saw it at a special sneak preview, this press screening that they were having, and it... more and more, I feel like they're recognizing the No Name Cinema Society, because more and more I'm getting invited to these sneak previews. And it was at the Egyptian Theater, and here you can see, the little Q&A co-sponsored by the American Cinematheque and the Alamo Draft House. And also there was a Q&A afterwards, so I might have some extra insight into this movie. I don't know. They actually didn't say that much at the Q&A. That was too interesting. They might have been drunk. In particular, Russell and Russell and Ryan are in the middle. There on the far left of the photo is producer Joel Silver. On the right, not including the moderator, who's the far right, but just next to him is Shane Black in the plaid, the director and co-writer in this particular case. Admittedly, the Twitter questions, and I sent several, but the Twitter questions were not that great. So Ryan and Russell sort of took over the proceedings with their jokes. I guess the studio told them that they needed to be funny. Literally, they told us that they need to be funny in press. So they really tried to hijack the Q&A in an obnoxious kind of way. So with that said, my buttons are slow to. There we go. Time for summary. I'm doing all sorts of talking, but our summary is so. Professional private investigator Holland March, played by Ryan Gosling here, and professional enforcer Jackson Healy, as played by Russell Crowe, each have cases that seem to intersect. So they reluctantly team up on the seemingly innocent missing persons case that turns out to be significantly larger than either of them had bargained for. So how do you guys feel about that summary?
That's, I definitely will be Russell Crowe at some point. I mean, maybe Russell Crowe's gonna be more like me. I don't know. We're kind of like narrowing in.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's excited about your haircut. So
right, exactly.
All our viewers, almost unanimously, really are excited about. All right, the nice guys. Who goes first? It looks like J Money. You are first. You get to talk about your thoughts.
Well, briefly, I liked it. It's good with a but. I would say with a but.
Okay, Davy Joe.
I like this movie quite a bit.
And I would say that this movie this action comedy is very, very funny. I've also got a fairly large butt, and one of which would be it lacks action. I have a very large butt. I just got that.
You said it on the internet.
Yeah, that's a meme. It lacks action. However, in fairness, I feel it's exactly what the writer-director intended it to be. So, in that sense, I suppose it's successful. And I guess that's where I kind of want to start as I try and pull up my next photo. So and this I suppose is my butt. As it were. I don't know what it is about that word that makes us turn into 12-year-olds, but regardless, my main issue with the movie, and again, it's highly intentional, so it's a choice, is the role of luck/coincidence in the narrative. I'm well aware it's purposeful. It serves the comedy, but to me, it makes the action feel hollow. And I suppose that's okay in an outright comedy, but I feel like initially this film was trying to balance that out. It bothered me, and there's many, many moments when luck plays a big part of this. They're mostly inept, and they just stumble onto these things as they come along. What do you guys feel about this? Anything?
I mean, I think initially, early on in the plot, when there were some serendipitous moments, I thought, oh, that seems kind of lazy or convenient. But I think by the end of the movie, I was well aware that this seemed like it was, very well intentioned. And it didn't bother me. I actually kind of ended up liking that aspect of the movie. The fact that it felt a little more loose and almost organic because of that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely. Just because it's intentional, though, I don't know if it makes it feel any less lazy, but I could be wrong about that. It sat in my stomach the whole time. Like I agree with you in that it is clearly intentional, and I almost had the same exact reaction from the point of view that initially I was like, and then I was like, okay, this is on purpose, but that didn't make me like it any better. It just didn't feel right. It didn't, and I cared less about the characters as a result. Davey, where are you on this? You liked the movie more than we did.
Yeah, no, I thought it was funny. I thought it just kind of added to the comedy, and clearly, as you said, it was intentional. And it just, I mean, there's some bad luck also. I mean, it's just there was a lot of coincidence, and there's a lot of of all the things that could happen. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all agreed. I mean, I agree that it adds to the comedy, and I agree that this movie is very, very funny. But I guess it's about expectations. I mean, like I was thinking action comedy, I was thinking Midnight Run, I was thinking 48 Hours, and I just and I felt like it was closer to, you know, I mean, I'm trying to think of an example, but I'm like a Ben Stiller, you know, and like its comedy was closer to the silliness than I thought it would be. And the action wasn't very interesting as a result. So, anyway, my buttons are very slow tonight. I don't know what it is. J Money, I have a list of things to talk about here, but I'm curious about what your butt is, because I thought we'd have the same butt, but I guess not.
JB, I know you've always been curious about my butt, so this is not really a shock or a surprise for me to hear that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's right. No, I think my...
First of all, you guys started this. Don't oh boy me, Davy Joe. You guys, it was all you guys.
That was not. That was all J Money.
All right.
JB said it first. Anyway, the performances for me were uneven, and some of the performances were outright, I thought, bad, and that's kind of what took it away from me. I mean, I think that Russell Crowe was funny 50% of the time. I think that maybe he struggles with comedy to some degree. I think that some of the minor characters gave him varied performances depending on what the situation was. I thought that, for instance, Margaret Qualley, is that her last name? Yeah, I thought that she fell really flat in all the scenes that she was in. It really didn't work for me. So, from my point of view, the movie had a lot of interesting ideas. It was a little rough around the edges because I felt like the performances didn't quite scale up to the idea of the story. And that's pretty much my biggest butt in terms of what we're talking about.
I'm going to somewhat agree with you, as is my way. I think they're both funny 50% of the time. Sometimes they're funny in the same scene. Sometimes they're funny in the opposite scenes. I feel like Crowe's the straight man ultimately, so maybe 50% of the time is okay. I feel like there are times when Ryan Gosling is hilarious.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's also times when he really milks those jokes, like really squeezes every last drop out that he can out of these jokes, and he's really like, there are moments that I felt like were funny initially, and then he just kept going.
Right.
That I don't know. It seemed like poor choices. I agree with you about Margaret Qualley. I think flat's a great word, at least in terms of her performance. And with that said, though, let's see here. There was one performance that I thought was stellar. But before I get to that one performance, Davy Joe, do you disagree with us on performances?
Yeah, I think I do a little bit. I think I thought Russell Crowe was pretty great straight man, and Ryan Gosling, maybe it was low expectations. I mean, I've always liked him, but I didn't realize that he was this funny, and I laughed way more than I thought I was going to.
I'm not going to say I didn't. I mean, like, it's very funny. Like, I laughed a ton. I guess, again, it's about expectations and the action element. I wanted that story to be better. Like, but that's a screenplay thing, and let's get to that in a second. We're still talking about performance, and the outstanding performance, to me, in the movie, is young Angourie Rice. And Angourie Rice. Angourie, I think is how they pronounced it. She's also Australian, wouldn't you know?
Go figure.
And she's the heart of the movie. She's the Penny to their Inspector Gadget. For those of you that might understand that reference of a certain age. But funny enough, that also always bothered me about Inspector Gadget. The way that Penny always sort of solves their problems. So she's a real find. She's the heart of the movie. If we're going to talk about performances, I mean, I think she totally blows away her adult competition. I mean, in terms of creating a complete, interesting, well-rounded character who has jokes and who has straight moments too. I mean, I feel like I feel like it was a very special find and a very exciting new talent. Probably we talked a lot about the girl from Tomorrowland whose name is escaping my mind at the moment, but I feel like this performance even beats that one. We didn't talk about that. J Money, you didn't talk about that one. Where are you on her?
I don't know if I would say that I thought her performance blew away everyone else. I thought that she certainly rose to meet everyone else. And I think that she did overall a pretty strong job. I guess I feel like she, ultimately she's more the straight man than either of them in a lot of ways. I think that she ends up having to carry a lot of the emotional weight. So
I mean, that's true, but she has to carry a lot of, like, the intelligence, too.
Yeah. No, I think that she did a good job. I just, I think that it's hard to say because she's playing the kid role in a lot of ways, I think. So
I know, but it's more than just the kid role, I think. I mean, I feel like there's more to it. I feel like there's a lot going on with this character, who has to grow up real fast, having lost her mother, so forth and so on. So I feel like it's beyond than just, like, the regular kid role. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think regardless, she seemed to fit really well with the entire ensemble, and it wasn't like she didn't stand out in any negative way, certainly, and she held her own, like we were saying, against these two leads who are really massive stars. So that's quite impressive in and of itself.
As Ryan Gosling, is he considered a massive star at this point?
He is. Yeah. He is on Facebook. He is in my universe.
Well, I mean, like, name one Ryan Gosling box office hit. Like, real box office hit. Like, he's considered he's a great actor. He's got 1 Oscar nomination. Probably should have 2 to 3, but
I don't know, because I wouldn't necessarily say his box office receipts should be the ultimate indicator here. I think that him being.
Well, I mean, like, in terms of stardom, I think it's.
Well, I think, but recognizability wise, I mean, he's in so many memes. Like, he's a very popular person that your mother probably knows by first name.
Oh, actually, my mother definitely would not know him.
Well, your mother
feel pretty.
Your mother might be an outside case.
I mean, like, I feel like he's popular maybe among us, those of us that have industry connections, because he's a good actor and he's done cult status.
I think that Davies Joe's mom probably knows Ryan.
I think here's the deal.
Bring it on, Davey.
The Notebook. It's The Notebook. It's all The Notebook. Every woman in the world is in love with him because of The Notebook. So there it is.
Davies broke it down for us, and he did name
huge star.
It named did you say huge star?
Yeah, it's because of that.
No, I don't think it's a huge star. I think. All right. Anyway, that's beside the point. Let's start talking about. Oh my God, I'm having trouble. Okay, there we are. Let's start talking about screenplay, because that was my other thing I wanted to talk about here. So I couldn't get over the character ineptitude. It made me not root for them very much. And again, it's part of what the director intended. I get that, but I mean, like, I wanted them to overcome it, but they never really did. They flashed signs now and then, but it never really I feel like I wanted more in that finale in terms of what they accomplished, what they grew to be. And it never came to that, and maybe it's just like a 3-act structure kind of thing I was hoping for in terms of their arc. I mean, if anything, you could argue that maybe they're each other's rabbit's foot, like their luck changed when they found each other. But beyond that, they don't necessarily make each other better at their jobs. I don't know. I mean, I'm mixed on this, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely look at the whole point of the movie is that they keep messing things up and they keep surviving it. That's if that's not your it's not your cup of tea, then this is not going to be the movie for you. That's because every chance they get to make a mistake.
Thanks for Davey Jones for dumbing it down for me. In case I didn't understand that already.
Any chance they get to make a mistake, they make it. I mean, and I'm laughing about it now, just thinking about it.
Okay, but I mean, and then I guess that's my other point in the movie is, I mean, like, they had this potential. The plot itself had potential. This sort of intricate, complex mystery, but it's overshadowed by the comedy, and clearly intended. But this isn't really an action comedy. You know what I mean? This isn't Midnight Run. It's a silly comedy ultimately. Then.
Oh, why?
Money?
For me, the serendipity of it actually kind of fit the retro texture of the 70s. I mean, it's sort of a fuck around decade, and what they went through was kind of like them screwing it up in a drug-addled sense, because it feels like that's what fit the idea. What?
The J Money in his language.
No, my language. It's funny because I think I actually had the opposite reaction to the end as you, JB. I felt like they actually resolved it too much with the characters. Like they both very actively did the opposite of what their characters had been doing before that. Like they both had their moment where they had to face up to their lack of ability and then make a decision. Russell Crowe with the main bad guy at the end.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling, he actually does, accomplish the main goal at the end as well. So it feels like they both kind of overcame something.
But I mean, first of all, I mean, Russell Crowe does his with a little bit of a push, a little bit of a guilt factor, and I mean, Gosling stumbles, onto, he literally trips onto his solution. So that's not a character overcoming things necessarily.
Well, I think in terms of the storyline it is. I think in terms of just the fact that it happened is it ties everything up in a way that at the end that I actually thought was a little bit too pat and a little bit too almost contrived. It didn't necessarily ruin the movie for me, but it was one of the detractors by the end of it.
Do you understand what I'm saying, though, about this concept of because they were so silly, like I had a hard time rooting for them?
Not necessarily, but maybe I just went in with different expectations. I didn't really go in thinking, oh, this is an action comedy. So maybe that's part of it,
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like this Inspector Gadget routine was cute at first, but it grew really tired. And I have to be honest, I was on board with this movie for 75%. You know what I mean? Like, I was laughing hysterically. I just thought it was going to take a turn. It never took, and I felt empty afterwards. And expectations are probably a part of it. One of my tweeted questions to Shane Black was I wanted to ask him about his intentions regarding this idea of coincidence and luck and how what his goal was in making that such a big part of the film and the character. Like, my theory was by combining their luck change somehow, like they're without each other they would go back to being bad luck. I had all sorts of theories, but none of them really made me feel real good about the film overall. We don't have a lot of time. I want to move on. I really don't want to be late tonight. So, do you guys have anything else you want to say? I mean,
yeah, I just real quick, I just wanted to say that coming into this, I was definitely thinking it was going to be an action comedy, and the reason why the movie kind of made me happy is that I had thought that the story was a lot better than I had anticipated. It was kind of complex, but it was interesting, and it kind of did it. It was a good mix for me of kind of a neo-noir and a kind of a slapstick comedy as well. So,
See, I mean, like that's like saying it was kind of a good mix of orange juice and trying to think of something. And I don't know, like hard rye. I mean, like it didn't seem like things that could go together. That was like a terrible comparison, but I mean, like you get my point. I don't think these worlds meshed that well. Like I thought like the choice was made in favor of the comedy. You know what I mean? And in terms of that plot that you like so much, it did have the possibility of complexity, but all the comedy diffused it. Like, I never felt like Matt Bomer, for example, was any sort of threat because it was so comical. You know what I mean? Like, I was never scared of him. There was never any real tension because the tone was so light. A couple things. I do have some good things to say about the film. I feel like because I liked it the least, it seems like I've been a little negative. I laughed hysterically. I thought the soundtrack was outstanding. We didn't have time to talk about that in detail. And I actually like the cinematography a lot by Philippe Rousselot. And there were some shots that must have been digital. Like that opening shot must have been digital because it zooms all the way from the Hollywood Hills into a backyard. Yeah. And it didn't. I couldn't tell. I was wondering if it was or they just had an awesome zoom lens. So there's some really nice digital work in this as well. What I'm assuming is digital work. Maybe it wasn't, and if it wasn't, even more impressive. So that's the nice guys. Davey Joe, recap. We've been doing this for the last couple times. You're going to recap all the movies we talked about in our discussion of the nice guys.
I have the nice guys in the Notebook.
You clearly weren't listening because I definitely brought up 48 Hours and
Midnight Run.
And Midnight Run.
Okay, good point.
So maybe not our best secretary just yet. We're working our way into the role. So as I said earlier, I've been being invited to more and more of these screenings because of the No Name Cinema Society. So I'm getting to see free screenings. I've already seen our feature for next week. I saw it like 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And our next feature is Pop Star, Lonely Islands movies coming. It opens June 3rd. I saw it 2 weeks ago. These guys will see it June 3rd, and we're going to talk about it on June 6th. That's our feature, current feature for next time. And it's time. It's now in about 5 minutes. It's time for us to talk about our indie of the night, which is we're doing indies from 2011. Our next one is My Week with Marilyn, starring Michelle Williams and Eddie Redmayne and Kenneth Branagh. That's coming up next on the No Name Cinema Society Indie Spotlight, coming your way in 5 minutes. See you shortly.